Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear students. This is a video for the subject of education for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Conceptual Foundations of Education. Here we are going to discuss about the philosophical basis of education, and in this lecture we will study the Realism School of Philosophy. We will see the School of Philosophy and its educational implications. This video has been recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter for this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer for this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayam Prabha channels of MHRD, New Delhi. Hello dear learners, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at IASC, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today we are going to have a discussion on philosophical basis of education, and here in this lecture we will be discussing the Realism School of Philosophy, where we will see the study of the School of Philosophy and its educational implications. So let us start our discussion. The objectives of this lecture are to discuss the meaning of Realism School of Philosophy, to explain the various aspects of Realism School of Philosophy related to education, and to elaborate the significance of realism with respect to education. Let us start with the meaning of realism. Etymologically, realism means about a thing, or it is concerning with some objects, and in this way we can say that it is an angle of vision according to which things as we see and perceive are realities, and realities firmly hold that knowledge which is acquired through our sense organs or our senses only is true, and in this way what we perceive and see by our own senses basically is real in nature and the only true entity of the world. So this is basically the meaning which is given to Realism School of Philosophy. Whenever we talk about realism, there is a talk which is related to the other schools of philosophy, which are naturalism, which basically is another school of philosophy, or pragmatism, which is again another school of philosophy. So we can say that there are certain things which are very much similar to these school of philosophies, and there are certain things which are very much different from each other whenever we talk about these schools of philosophy. So both naturalism and realism believe in the truth and reality of the material world. The difference between the two is mainly with when we talk about naturalism, it actually emphasizes the ultimate truth and reality of the matter and the material objects, whereas realism does not bother about the ultimateness of the reality of material objects. It is concerned with them as they are only considered as to be in existence. And when we see the perspective which is given in pragmatism school of philosophy, both realism and pragmatism emphasize the importance of experience. And in case of pragmatism, we have seen that the experiences have been given a lot of emphasis. Realism also firmly holds the real knowledge, basically that the real knowledge cannot be gained without experience. The difference is that realism believes in traditions and facts which basically are true and the forms of real knowledge, and they say that uh, they all are linked up. The knowledge and the truth, the realities are linked up. While in case of pragmatism, it is it is considered to be a dynamic process, and is basically saying that it is gaining knowledge or the true knowledge of the material world by activity and consequent experiences. So these are the kind of link ups and the differences between these philosophies. If we talk about the protagonists who actually believed in realism school of philosophy, there are few names which are very important to be taken. The first one is Erasmus, then Rebellious, Milton, Lord Montaigne, John Locke, then Bacon, then Comenius, then Bertrand Russell. So these are few of those people who were considered as the chief protagonist of realism school of philosophy. Let us see few of the definitions of realism, because whenever we talk about any of these schools of philosophy, certain definitions which are given by renowned people is always to be considered. So the first definition is which I'm going to mention is given by Swami Ram Tirath. He says that realism means a belief or theory which looks upon the world as it seems to us to be a mere phenomenon. So these are the words of Swami Ram Tirath. Then the next definition is given by J.S. Ross. He says the doctrine of realism asserts that there is a real world of things behind and corresponding to the objects of our perception. So these are the words of J.S. Ross. Then the next definition is given by C.V. Good. He says that realism is the doctrine that objective reality or the material universe exists independently of the conscious mind. Its nature and properties are being affected by being known. So these are the words of C.V. Good. And then the next definition is given by Butler. He says that realism is the reinforcement of our common acceptance of this world as it appears to us. So in these words, basically these philosophers express their feelings related to the realism school of philosophy. So let us discuss about the growth of realism, how it took its growth in our country and even outside the country. So realism is not a new philosophy. And some of our scholars are having the opinion that realism has been since the time of Aristotle. And in the realm of Indian philosophy, the school of realism is quite evident. In the Vedas, if you go ahead and see the Vedas, there are clear descriptions of actual natural phenomenon and natural objects. So we can say that Vedas are also talking about the realistic school of philosophy. And not only this, basically Buddhism and Jainism both advocate realism of the material world and think this world perceived by senses as the ultimate reality. And even we can see that the advent of realism and the development of realism was happening even in the 17th century, where realism developed as a doctrine of philosophy, and there were a lot of things which were seen in the school of philosophy. Why it became a doctrine of philosophy in the 17th century? There were two reasons behind it. The first one was that the protest against the philosophy of idealism, and the second reason was the development of science. So up to the end of 16th century, people actually had lost faith in all the ancient and medieval ideas or ideals of life. So the main cause of this general disbelief was that through the idealistic education, basically the idealistic education could develop moral and spiritual qualities, but it failed to inculcate the capacity in children which enables them to face the problems of life and basically to solve these problems. And through the solving of these problems, they can inculcate the happiness and the benefits of life. So it basically failed. Idealism basically failed. So we can say that idealistic education did not develop dynamism and desirable patterns of behavior, which was essential for day-to-day living. So during those very times in Europe, monocasticism and then scholasticism, Renaissance, Reformation, and humanism, etc., were born as powerful movements. So these movements transformed totally the attitudes and viewpoints of people. And instead of developing themselves to their welfare in the other world, as idealism very much emphasized, they began to face real day-to-day problems of life squarely and actually solving them for their own good and welfare of the society. So it happened from that time only, and during those very days, the science, basically the science was also advancing by leaps and bounds. So the development of science actually played a very important role in the growth of realism. So new researches and new techniques of production affected every field of life, and it created urges to improve and to forge ahead. Basically, this was the advent of the this proper school of philosophy. Copernicus, John Kepler, then Galileo, all these people, and there were many others who basically found out new truths about the revolution of the celestial bodies and the revolution of Earth. So the basically they were doing a lot of discoveries. Blood circulation and various physiological systems came to be established with the result, and the old blind beliefs and traditions began to break under the stress of scientific researches and wonderful inventions. So this impact of science on materialism gave rise to realism, which further gave rise to new realistic outlook on life, material phenomenon and material things. So from there actually began the modern age, where people were much ahead of, and they were talking about the realities, the perceptions which are actually those perceptions which were perceived by the use of sense organs, and those things were actually accepted, which were sensed by human beings. So this was somehow the growth of realism. We have to talk about few of the fundamental principles of realism. So let us see that what are the fundamental principles of realism. The first principle here, which I would like to mention, is the phenomenal world is true. So the belief says that the phenomenal world is true. Realists believe in the truth and reality of the matter. For them, there is no world beyond this world. And in this way, unlike idealists who believe in another world, the realists have no faith in another world. And basically, they only believe in this life and this world. So, in the words of J.S. Ross, realism simply affirms the existence of an external world and is therefore the antithesis of subjective idealism. This is the first fundamental principle. The second fundamental principle of realism, it says that senses are the doors of knowledge. Realism believes that senses are basically the gateways or the doors of knowledge. The impressions and sensations which result from our contacts with the external world through our senses or the sense organs result in knowledge, which is true and real. The neo-realist, uh, the famous person who is Bertrand Russell, in his book, he has written, basically the book is titled as Analysis of Mind. Bertrand Russell writes, I contend that ultimate constitution of matter are not atoms, but sensation. I believe that the stuff of our mental life consists wholly of sensations and images. So you can see that his words are reflecting that how important he actually considers the role of sensation. Whenever we talk about sensation, In the case of this school of philosophy, the realism school of philosophy, sensations or senses are given a lot of importance. Then the next fundamental principle is the theory of organism. According to realists, conscious and unconscious things form an organism. So, in the words of Whitehead, who again is a follower of the school of philosophy, he says the universe is a vibrating organism in the process of evolution. Change is the fundamental feature of this vibrating universe. The very essence of real actuality is process. Mind must be regarded as the function of the organism. So these are the words of a philosopher who is a staunch follower of the realistic school of philosophy, realism school of philosophy. So here you can see that uh, even the universe has been given the regard of an entity only. So this is the third principle. Then the next principle is that opposition of idealism, which is very important to discuss. Basically, realism opposes the school of philosophy of idealism. So there is no place for imagination in realism at all. Realists assert that there are no such entities as the God or a soul or the other world. They are mere figments of human imagination. So, in this way, having no faith in the existence of God, soul, and their interrelationship. Basically, realists assert that the scientific realities of matter and its attributes are true and real. So they don't believe in any of those uh, uh, abstracts or the idea of Almighty or the Creator. Then the next principle is man is a part of material world. So according to realists, man is a part of the material world. Man is endowed with sense organs and the mind through which this person attains the knowledge of the real external world. Then the next principle says that there should be emphasis on experiment. Realism lays emphasis on observation and experimentation. According to this philosophy, no experience can be accepted as true unless it is analyzed and classified in totality. Then the next principle says that importance of present applied life should also be given. So according to this school of philosophy, spiritual world cannot be understood by means of senses. So the existence of God, soul and spiritual values are mere creations of man's or human beings' imagination. They cannot be real, and in this way we cannot basically realize all those, so they are not realizable. So nobody should bother about heaven or hell, but emphasize and believe in the physical and material existence. So we can say that this school of philosophy is very much negating to the ideas of the creator, heaven, hell, or all those things which are very much true when we talk about the idealistic school of philosophy. So realists lay emphasis upon the molding and directing of human behavior as conditioned by the physical and material facts and objects of the present. uh, Basically, the present is very much emphasized. The present human life is only considered as true. So this only promotes human welfare and happiness. So these are few of those principles or the fundamental principles which actually talk about the realistic school of philosophy, and they actually give a kind of explanation that what is the belief system of the school of philosophy. In one of the finest works of Rusk, uh, the book which he has written, which is titled as Philosophical Basis of Education, he writes that the aim of new realism is to expound a philosophy which is not inconsistent with the facts of common life and with the development of physical science. So with these words, the fundamental principles of realism can be very well understood. The next point of discussion is the forms of realism. So basically there are four forms of realism which we are going to discuss here. The first form is humanistic realism. The second one is social realism. Third is sense realism. And the fourth one is neorealism. So let us see that what exactly these forms of realism are all about. The first form, which is the humanistic realism, basically the protagonist of humanistic realism firmly believe that education should be realistic. An education which can only promote human welfare and success of humankind. To achieve this aim of education, they advocate the study of Greek and Roman literatures, as they were of opinion that those literatures contained all the essentials of success and happiness in life. So in the view of these protagonists of humanistic realism, there was no problem of life over which these literatures had nothing to say. Without their study, real aim of life could not be achieved. So in this way, humanistic realism believed that the study of Greek and Roman literatures was very essential for individual, social and spiritual development. So these are few of those you can say the ideas of the people who believed that Greek and Roman literature was very much essential for the development of humankind. So they believed in the humanistic realism. Then we will be discussing about those notable protagonists of this philosophy in detail in a separate lecture. So here we will just discuss about the forms, the details of the forms of the type of or forms or types of the realism. The second form, which is social realism, basically social realism aims to make human life happy and successful by fulfilling the needs of society. So it basically upholds uh, the ideology which condemns the cramming and giving full importance to society and the social environment. Basically, the protagonists of this philosophy emphasize the attainment of real knowledge. They oppose mere academic and bookish knowledge and advocate that education which was useful to life and practical in nature should be given. So in a different way, if we talk about it, education should promote the working efficiency of the individuals. And according to this school of philosophy or the protagonist of this school of philosophy, the curriculum should include geography, history, arithmetic, law, diplomacy, warfare, and different forms of athletics, dancing, and all. So these are few of those things which the social realism actually believes. Then we have the sense realism. So since the realism developed in the 17th century, this ideology had some roots of the modern education of today. Its protagonists uphold that knowledge preliminary or the preliminary knowledge comes through the senses and not from the world. As such, in the education of the child, his ears, mouth, skin, and limbs should be freely used to the maximum. And without exercising his sense organs, no knowledge will be gained by the child. The fact is that upholders of sense realism were powerfully influenced by the scientific researches, discoveries, and inventions of the 17th century. Their thinking was totally revolutionized. They came to believe firmly that all knowledge originates from the external nature. And in this way, education should adopt real and effective methods instead of artificial techniques. Bookish education invests the truth and realities with the aura of artificiality and make believe. This basically, they go beyond the reach of an individual. So truth can only be gained by observation and contacts between senses and external objects. So this is the natural way of being educated. This education should provide more and more opportunities to the child to observe and study natural phenomena and come in contact with external natural objects through his or her senses. So these were few of those thought processes which the sense realism actually believes in. Through the efforts and criticism by the sense realities or realists of the prevalent educational system, new changes and revolutionary transformations affected the system of education. And some of them actually believe that mother tongue as the medium of instruction should be followed, more importance to observation of nature and study of science subject in place of languages, literature, and humanities should be given. More emphasis on useful and practical education should be given. Then help from psychological findings and researches should be provided. Deductive method more important than inductive methods. So these are few of those things which are related to the sense realism. The last one, the last form of realism is neo-realism. This ideology has more importance in the field of philosophy and science than in education. According to Rusk, the positive contribution of this neo-realism is its acceptance of the methods and results of modern development in physics. Neorealism believes that like other rules and procedures of science are also changeable. So it is talking about the dynamism or the dynamic nature of science. They are valid only in certain conditions and circumstances. When those circumstances change, the rules also change. So even all those people who believe in neo-realism, they talk about the dynamic nature of science. So now let us talk about the characteristics of realistic education, or the features which are the characteristic features of the realism school of philosophy. The first feature is that it is based on science. The supporters or the protagonists of realism emphasize the importance of useful and purposive education. They advocated the inclusion of scientific subjects in the curriculum, and in place of academic and artificial education, they laid a lot of stress on the natural education, which gave birth to naturalism. So in this way, the emphasis on scientific education is the first characteristic of realistic education. The second characteristic feature is the emphasis on present life of child. So basically, being the second characteristic feature of the realistic education, it is to make the present life of child as the focal point of educational system. We all know that the fact is that realism was born as a reaction of excessive idealism. It opposed the academic education of mere ideals and values and emphasized the immediate, real, and practical problems of day-to-day life, which only can promote individual good and welfare. In other words, the present life of the child is the center of all educational activities, which is actually propagated or said by this school of philosophy. The third characteristic feature is the emphasis on experimental and applied life. This is basically, it says that realistic education is giving emphasis on experiments, experiences, and application of knowledge which is learned. So it lays great stress on learning by doing, by developing creativity and urge of practical work in children, so that they are able to solve their immediate practical problems and lead a real successful life. Number four is the opposition of bookish knowledge. So realists declare basically they basically are against mere academic, theoretical, and bookish knowledge, which develops only rote memory and encourages cramming. It does not enable the child to understand the realities of external things and natural phenomena. According to the protagonist of this school of philosophy, the realism school of philosophy, education should inculcate in the child an understanding of both the things and the environment. So, the slogan of realistic education is not words but things. Such type of education promotes intelligence and a sense of judgment, which the bookish education does not do. Then the next characteristic feature is limited freedom of child. Realistic education realizes the prime importance of child. According to realists, the child should be given full freedom to develop his or her self according to his or her innate tendencies. But here they don't mean that the freedom should promote like an ill-disciplined person. This freedom should promote self-discipline and self-control. So in other words, the child should proceed from ignorance to knowledge slowly but surely through his or her own efforts and self-discipline. Number 6 is emphasis on training of, in basically the emphasis on training. So this is the sixth characteristic of realistic education, where training and development of senses of child is basically given a very important aspect. It has been considered as the very important aspect. So unlike the idealists who impose knowledge from above, realists advocate self-learning through senses which ought to be trained. So these senses are the gateways of knowledge and developed by use and experience. So the sixth characteristic feature is emphasis on the training of senses. Number 7 is that equal importance to individuality and sociability. The seventh characteristic feature of realistic education is to emphasize equally the individuality and sociability of the child. So basically the aim of realistic education is to develop both the individual self and the society of which this human being or this person is an integral part. So in the words of Bacon, he clearly asserts that realistic education develops the individual on the one hand and on the other hand tries to develop society through the development of social consciousness and sense of service to the individual. So these are those characteristic features which are very important whenever we talk about the realistic education. So now let us see the realism school of philosophy and the aims of education. The first aim of education is preparing the child for a happy and successful life. This is the basic and the first aim, which is talking about the preparation of the child to lead a successful and happy life. Education should be such that the child is able to solve his problems of life successfully and lead a happy life, promoting the welfare of the society as well. Number two, or the next aim is preparing the child for a real life. This is basically talking about that the child should be prepared for the real and practical life. Realists believe in the reality of knowledge of external material world gained through senses. So in this way, they wish to prepare the child for the real life of material world. Number three is the third aim is developing the physical and mental powers of the child. According to realism, mind as well as the physical organs together constitute an organism composed of matter. So in this way, according to this ideology, the third aim of education is to develop the physical and mental powers of the child so that with the help of his developed intelligence, discrimination and judgment, this child becomes able to solve all the problems of life successfully. Number four aim of realistic school of philosophy is developing and training of senses. Realists believe that unless the senses of the child are developed fully, basically he or she will not be able to have full knowledge about the external world. So in this way, the fourth aim of realistic education is to develop and train the senses of the child through varied experiences. Number five, aim of this school of philosophy says that acquainting the child with nature and social environment should be done. So according to realism, a child is related both to the external nature and the social environment. So in this way, the fifth aim of education is to provide the child the full knowledge of both the society and the external nature so that he or she is able to strike a balance between the two. Then the next aim says that imparting vocational education should also be there. So according to realism, education should be a practical utility to child. Since the problem of livelihood is the main problem of life, uh, every time we can say that this problem of leading a good life and earning the livelihood in a proper way has been the problem of the lives of human beings. So according to this ideology, the sixth aim of education is to provide vocational education to the child. Now let us see the role of the curriculum or the thought process behind the curriculum which is laid in this school of philosophy, which is realism. So realists insisted that only those subjects and activities should be included in the curriculum which prepare the children for actual day-to-day living. According to them, according to this school of philosophy, considering the real situations, conditions, and circumstances of the present day life of human beings, realists emphasize to give prime place to nature, science, and vocational subjects, whereas secondary place to arts, literature, and languages. It is to be noted that realists have recommended only 30 subjects for the curriculum. They have also advocated free choosing by the children from among these subjects. So the choice is very much, they have given a lot of choice to the children. So at the same time, they have made clear that teaching of mother tongue is the foundation of all development, and vocational subjects which are essential for livelihood are actually very much important whenever we talk about the curriculum. So the essential subjects in the curriculum should be language and vocational subjects. Then we have to see that what is the role of school or what is the position of school which is given in this school of philosophy. Realists have given their views about school, different views about the school. Some realists do not feel any need of school at all. They prescribe wide traveling and tours and excursions and teaching by private tutors as the best means of education. Homeschooling is also considered as the good means of education. On the contrary, there are other realists who emphasize the importance of school and class teaching, the classroom teaching. They regard school as a mirror of society and reflecting its true start of affairs. So we can say that the school should not only include in its work all the activities going on in the society, but it should also be well furnished and equipped with all the necessary aids and devices for effective observation and experimentations by children. So, according to this school of philosophy, the school is basically an agency which meets the needs of the child and the demands of society as well. So, we can say that uh, in few of the words, we can just emphasize that it is the school only which provides for the fullest development of the child according to his or her nature and needs. Not only this, school is the only agency to provide vocational education to prepare the child for some livelihood. So, in the words of Comenius, Comenius has actually exclaimed that schools are true foregoing places of men. So, you can see that few of them have given, few of the realists have given no emphasis to school, but on the other hand, few of the realists or the philosophers belonging to this school of philosophy have given a lot of emphasis to school, and they have considered school as a place or as an agency or a means from where the child is going to acquire a lot of knowledge and skill, and also the vocational skills which can be providing him or her the source of livelihood in future. Then let us see the role of discipline, or what exactly is the place of discipline in realism school of philosophy. Realists emphasize moral and religious education of the child. Basically, for this type of education, discipline is essential and a prerequisite condition. But what type of discipline? Basically, this is a question which is there, that what exactly should be the form of discipline. So the upholders of this ideology, basically, they don't believe in repressionistic discipline. They advocate self-discipline of effect, smooth adjustment of the child with external environment. The teacher only inspiring and encouraging sympathetically. And according to Comenius, the school should be like the lap of mother, full of affection, love, and sympathy. In in other way, we can say that realists advocate a synthetic form of impressionistic and emancipatory form of discipline. So basically, this is the emphasis which is given to discipline in this school of philosophy. So now let us see the realism and the methods of teaching. What exactly are those methods which are recommended as good for teaching? So traditional system of education gave to the child only bookish knowledge, which was purely academic and basically not actually giving any practical sense of knowledge to the child. So it failed to prepare the child for real life. Realistic change, basically the realistic people or the realists changed that system of teaching to gaining knowledge through senses according to the child's nature and capacity, by way of observation and experience, emphasizing that objects are real. The realists basically insisted to impart knowledge of objects and external phenomena through senses. In their opinion, objects should be first shown and allowed to be handled if need be arise, and then only they be interpreted and explained to the child. This encouraged the use of audiovisual aids in education. Uh, so you can see that a lot of modern things are encouraged in this school of philosophy. Bacon, who is considered to be a very famous realist, he introduced the inductive method in the process of education. According to this method, the object is shown to the child first, and then its interpretation is done. So basically, the child does his own observation, experimentation, and derives conclusions. So basically, the child does self-learning to a great extent by employing inductive method. So here the method which is a kind of outcome of realism school of philosophy, the first method is the inductive method. Milton advocated learning by traveling. John Locke also spoke about tours, observations, and learning by experience as powerful means of education. And there are few other realists who also actually believed in the maxims or of teaching, which actually discouraged the rote memorization and prescribed the learning by observation and experience. So it can be noted that realists regard all knowledge as one unit, and they advocate the principle of correlation between various subjects of studies. So now let us see the role of teacher, or the importance of teacher, which is given in this school of philosophy. The role of teacher according to realists is neither as high and important as the idealist advocate, and nor it is so negligible as the naturalist school of philosophy is giving. So we can say that it's fairly important role which is given to the teacher in this school of philosophy. The teacher, according to the realist, is expected to have full knowledge of the content and the needs of children. So basically, not only this basically he or she must also be capable to present before children the content in a clear and intelligible way by employing psychological and scientific methods. It is the duty of teacher to tell children about scientific discoveries, researches, and inventions by others in various fields of knowledge. So the teacher himself or herself should also be engaged in some research work or experimentation. So at the same time, this teacher must inspire children to undertake wide and close observation and experimentation themselves so that they are able to find out new facts. And not only this, the teacher must understand well the amount of knowledge to be provided to each child at a specific time. So basically, the realist insist upon the training of teachers before they engage themselves in the teaching work in an effective way. So basically, the teacher education, you can say, uh, is believing on the realistic school of philosophy. Whenever we talk about the education of teachers or training of teachers, we are actually going with the idea of realism. So now let us see few of those merits which are very much important whenever we talk about this school of philosophy. Basically, realistic education did not have much impact on the traditional education, but still there are a lot of things which are good and can be considered as the merits. So basically, the realistic education permeated the social thinking and beliefs of educationists, and then came few of those merits which are actually worthwhile whenever we talk about the realistic education. The first one is that realism emphasizes that education should be practical and utilitarian. So we can say that impractical and useless education has come to be regarded as waste to time, energy, and resources. So this is the first merit where the realism school of philosophy is emphasizing on the practical or utilitarian education. Number two is that realism prescribed realistic and useful aim of education. Such aims are directly related to the needs of the individuals and demands of society. Number three, the third merit is that realistic education, scientific subjects have found an important place in the curriculum just because of the realistic education. So people of this age have begun to believe that without science, no country can develop and progress. So giving a lot of emphasis on science and scientific subjects is considered as the merit of realistic school of philosophy. Number four is that realistic education has brought about revolutionary changes in the methods of teaching. In modern education, the inductive method has replaced the traditional deductive method. And in addition, the heuristic, experimental, and correlational devices have come in the field and accepted by all to be really effective methods. Number five is that in place of repressionistic discipline, a synthetic form of impressionistic and emancipatory discipline is being accepted by the educationists today, and this is just because of the efforts of realistic school of philosophy. Number six is that realistic education emphasized objectivity. The result is that more and more objective methods of teaching and evaluation are gaining ground today. Number seven is that realistic ideology has gained or has basically it has got a sea change in the organizational pattern of schools uh, as well. So we can say that they are becoming centers, these schools are becoming centers of joyful activities, practical engagements, and interesting experiments. And all children show eagerness to such schools now. So basically, this has become the school. The school has become a kind of place which is related to the practical experiences and joyful activities, and these are the efforts of realistic school of philosophy. Once we have talked about the merits, let us see few of the demerits. which we have to consider whenever we are talking about the school of philosophy. Basically, the first one is that realism lays a great stress upon physical world, but it fails to answer few of the questions like that: is there any power behind this physical world? Is this physical world absolute and supreme? And what are the limits of the physical world? So, if the supremacy of the physical world is accepted, then is there any final and ultimate power? So such questions are basically there, and uh, realistic school of philosophy or realism school of philosophy was or is not able to answer these questions. Number two demerit is that realism regards senses as the gateways of knowledge. As such, we get knowledge only after contacts with objects. But how does illusion occur? And how do we get faulty knowledge? So these are again the questions which realism is not able to answer. Number three is the demerit which we wish to discuss is that realism accepts the real needs and real feelings only. It does not believe in imagination, intense emotion, and sentiments. These also are the realists and genuine needs of the individuals. Basically, uh, these are those needs and those realities which every individual is undergoing. So realism basically does not accept these feelings. Number four is that realism emphasizes facts and values them highly. Basically, in this way, indiscipline, injustice, and corruption, uh, real and true, are should be accepted as they are. Basically, they don't. They actually exist, and realism basically does not accept those. So the true things which are uh, not actually positive in nature are also true, and it should be accepted. Number five, that realism emphasizes scientific subjects to the neglect of arts and literature. This is creating imbalance in the total curriculum. So this is important, very important kind of demerit, which we can say that realism has. Then realism emphasizes exclusively on facts and realities of life. It does not give any importance to ideals and values. It basically is in denial of ideals and values, often creates helplessness and pessimism, which retard growth and development of the individual. So these are few of those demerits which are related to real. So basically, we can say that realists believe that reality exists independent of the human mind. The ultimate reality is the world of physical objects. The focus is on the body and of the objects. So truth is objective, what can be observed. Basically, if we talk about Aristotle, who was a student of Plato, who broke with his mentor's idealist philosophy, is called the father of both realism and the scientific method. In this metaphysical view, the aim is to understand objective reality through the diligent and unsparing scrutiny of all observable data. Aristotle believed that to understand an object, its ultimate form had to be understood, which does not change. So Aristotle also was the first to teach logic as a formal discipline in order to be able to reason about physical events and aspects. So the exercise of rational thoughts is viewed as the ultimate purpose for humankind. The realist curriculum, the curriculum which is influenced by this realism school of philosophy, it emphasizes the subject matter of the physical world, particularly science and mathematics. The teacher organizes the presence, the content systematically. Basically, the presentation of the content is to be done by the teacher with a discipline demonstrating use of criteria in making decisions. Teaching methods focus on mastery of facts and basic skills through demonstration and recitation. So students must also demonstrate the ability to think critically and scientifically using observation and experimentation. Curriculum should be scientifically approached, standardized, and distinct discipline based. So character is developed through training in the rules of conduct. So these are few of the facts which are related to real. So with these facts and figures, now we have come to the end of this lecture, and let us just have a recapitulation of what exactly we have studied. We have seen the meaning of realism, which is an angle of vision about worldly things which considers them as real. And we have seen that there are few of those people who are very much important, or they are considered as the protagonists of realism, uh, like Erasmus, Rebellius, Milton, Montaigne, John Locke, and many more people. And there will be further more discussions regarding the thought process of these guys. Then we have seen the growth of realism, how through old but developed, basically this process of realism, the growth of realism has taken place. Basically, it's an old philosophy, but it was prominently grown in the 17th century. We have seen the forms of realism, which are humanistic, social, sense, and neo-realism. Then we have seen the principles of realism. We have also seen the different characteristic features of realistic education, the aims of education which are propounded by the realistic school of philosophy. And we have seen the influence of realism on the curriculum, the methods of teaching, and the place of teacher, and what exactly is the place of school, and what exactly is the place of all the education which is given to the basically is given by the school of philosophy. Whenever we talk about realistic school of philosophy, what exactly is the role of school and role of teacher is to be very much importantly discussed. So basically it is giving a lot of emphasis on the place of teacher, and they don't believe in any sort of repressionistic discipline. A synthetic form of impressionistic and emancipatory discipline is encouraged, and schools are considered as the mirror reflecting the whole form of society. So these are the few of those facts and figures which are related to the realism school of philosophy. These are the references and suggested further readings or the links which were considered while developing this lecture. And although this school of philosophy is very much contemporary in nature, we can see that a few of our policies, our schemes are also influenced by some or the other thought processes which are there in the realistic school of philosophy. So we have to go ahead and learn it very properly. We have to see that what are the merits and demerits, and what are those things which can be taken from this school of philosophy. So with all these words, let us conclude this discussion, and I will see you in another lecture some other time. Till then, thanks from my side. Thank you so much. Dear students, you are watching a video on philosophical basis of education, and in this lecture we discussed about the study of the school of philosophy and its educational implications, and here the school of philosophy which was discussed was realism. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the national lockdown period for COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.